Jennifer Matthews stood frozen in the doorway of their bedroom, staring at the empty safe where her surgery money had been just yesterday. The $47,000 she'd saved for 3 years to fix the tumor pressing against her spine. Her husband Brad was zipping up a suitcase, humming cheerfully, while his phone screen glowed with a text from Ashley. "Can't wait for Cancun, baby. Best vacation ever." When Jennifer's trembling voice asked where her surgery money went, Brad didn't even look up. He said he'd borrowed it for a much-needed vacation with his girlfriend, that Jennifer's medical issues were always something, and that honestly she was probably better off dead anyway, since she was useless and couldn't even work anymore. But what Brad didn't know, what nobody except Jennifer's late father's attorney knew, was that Jennifer wasn't some helpless, broke housewife he could discard. She was the sole heir to her father's empire, sitting on $300 million in assets that would be fully released to her the moment she turned 40 next month. Brad had married her when she was poor, mocked her through every struggle, and now stolen her last hope for surgery to fund his betrayal. What would Jennifer do when the money hit her account? How would Brad react when he discovered the dying wife he'd abandoned was worth more than he'd earned in 10 lifetimes? And what shock was waiting for him when he returned from his mistress's vacation? Jennifer's hands shook as she watched Brad's car disappear down the driveway, the red tail lights blurring through her tears. The pain in her lower back flared, sharp and insistent, reminding her why she'd needed that surgery money in the first place. $47,000, 3 years of saving every penny from the small online bookkeeping business she'd managed to run from home, despite the pain that sometimes left her bedridden for days. Gone, stolen by the man who'd promised to love her in sickness and in health 12 years ago. She lowered herself carefully onto the couch, each movement calculated to avoid triggering the shooting pains down her legs. The tumor was growing. Dr. Harrison had been clear about that 6 months ago when the latest MRI came back. It wasn't cancerous, thank God, but it was pressing against her spinal cord, and every month she delayed surgery meant more risk of permanent nerve damage. The surgery cost $52,000, and after 3 years, she'd finally scraped together $47,000. She'd been $5,000 short, but Dr. Harrison's office had agreed to a payment plan for the rest. The surgery was scheduled for next week. Was scheduled. Jennifer picked up her phone and stared at Dr. Harrison's number. She'd have to call tomorrow and cancel. The thought made her stomach twist. How long would it take to save another $47,000? A year? 2? Would she even be able to walk by then? Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her open it. It was a photo. Brad and Ashley on an airplane. Champagne glasses raised, huge smiles on their faces. Ashley was beautiful, Jennifer admitted numbly. Young, probably 25, with perfect skin and a tiny waist. Everything Jennifer used to be before the pain started, before the weight gain from immobility, before the medical bills and the crushing fatigue. Below the photo was a message. Thought you should see what real happiness looks like. Brad says you'd understand. He deserves this. Aye. Jennifer's vision blurred again, but this time it wasn't just tears. It was rage. Pure, white-hot rage that burned through the fog of pain and despair. Brad had taken her surgery money. He'd told her she was better off dead, and now his mistress was taunting her with photos of their vacation, funded by her suffering. She set the phone down and pressed her palms against her eyes. Think, Jennifer. Think. Her father's voice echoed in her memory, calm and steady like it had been throughout her childhood. Jennifer, my girl, never make decisions in anger. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Then plan accordingly. Her father. God, she missed him. He died 4 years ago, and the grief still caught her off guard sometimes. Richard Matthews had built his fortune from nothing, a tech company that revolutionized data security in the early 2000s. He'd sold it for $380 million when Jennifer was 35, right before the market crash that would have destroyed its value. Everyone said Richard Matthews had the Midas touch. What they didn't know was that he'd also had the foresight to protect his daughter from fortune hunters. Jennifer pulled herself off the couch and made her way to the small home office she kept in the spare bedroom. Brad never came in here. He'd mocked her cute little bookkeeping hobby too many times to bother. She pulled out the bottom drawer of her filing cabinet and withdrew the manila envelope she'd hidden under old tax returns. Inside was the letter from her father's attorney, Wallace Crenshaw, dated 3 weeks before her father's death. She'd memorized it years ago, but she read it again anyway. My dearest Jennifer, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I hope I've left you prepared for what comes next. I've placed $300 million in a trust that will be released to you on your 40th birthday. Not before. I chose 40 because by then, you'll have lived enough life to know who truly loves you and who loves what you might represent. Brad seems like a good man now, but I worry, sweetheart. He married you when you had nothing, yes, but I want you to have time to see if he stays when things get hard. If he's still there, loving and supporting you through whatever challenges life brings, then you'll know he's genuine and you can share this blessing with him. If not, you'll have the resources to build a new life. The choice will be yours. I love you always. Dad. Jennifer's 40th birthday was in 28 days. 28 days until she went from broke and desperate to one of the wealthiest women in the state. The irony was almost funny. Almost. Brad had married her when she was waitressing at a diner, wearing secondhand clothes and living in a studio apartment with 3 roommates. He'd been a junior sales manager then, decent income but nothing spectacular. They'd struggled together through the early years, or so she'd thought. Looking back now with clear eyes, Jennifer could see the patterns she'd missed. The way Brad's affection cooled whenever she talked about her aches and pains. The irritation in his voice when she had to cancel plans because she couldn't stand for long periods. The comments about her weight, her usefulness, her worth. When had Ashley entered the picture? Jennifer opened her laptop and did something she'd never allowed herself to do before. She looked, really looked. Brad's social media was locked down, but Ashley's wasn't. Jennifer found her easily. Ashley Winters, 26 years old, marketing coordinator at Brad's company. Her photos went back 2 years. Jennifer scrolled through them, her chest tightening with each image. There, 14 months ago, a company picnic. Brad in the background of one of Ashley's photos, looking at her with an expression Jennifer recognized. She'd seen it on his face once, years ago, when he'd looked at her that way. 14 months. He'd been cheating for over a year. How much of their money had he spent on Ashley? How many lies had he told? Jennifer clicked through more photos. Restaurants she'd never been to. Concert tickets Brad said he'd gotten from a work buddy. A weekend trip to Vegas he'd claimed was a sales conference. All lies, all Ashley. The pain in Jennifer's back spiked, and she had to stop, had to breathe through it. She reached for the prescription bottle on her desk, then stopped. The painkillers made her foggy, and right now she needed clarity. She needed to think. Her father had taught her that emotions were information, not instructions. Feel them, he'd said, but don't let them drive. Let them inform. So what did her emotions tell her? Brad didn't love her. Maybe he never had. He'd seen her as a sure thing, a woman who'd be grateful for his attention, who'd stay loyal and undemanding. When she got sick, she'd become inconvenient. And now with Ashley offering everything Jennifer couldn't, youth, health, vitality, Brad had simply moved on. The surgery money was just the final proof. Jennifer pulled up her bank accounts. Their joint account showed a $47,000 withdrawal 2 days ago, transferred to Brad's personal account she didn't have access to. Her separate account, the one she'd used for her bookkeeping business, had $3,947 in it. That was everything. Years of marriage, and she had less than $4,000 to her name. Brad had insisted on managing their finances, and she trusted him. She trusted him. The laugh that escaped her was bitter. Wallace Crenshaw had called her 3 years ago, right after her diagnosis, to check in. He'd asked carefully if she needed anything. An advance on the trust, perhaps, for medical expenses? Jennifer had said no. The trust was sacred. It was her father's last gift, his last protection, and she wouldn't touch it before the time he'd specified. She'd been proud of that decision, proud of making it on her own with Brad, building their life together without the crutch of her inheritance. What a fool she'd been. But the foolishness ended now. Jennifer opened a new browser tab and searched for divorce attorneys. Then she stopped. No, not yet. Brad didn't know about the money. He thought she was helpless, dependent, dying. If she filed for divorce now, he'd know something was up. He'd start asking questions, digging. Brad was lazy and cruel, but he wasn't stupid. Better to wait. Better to plan. 28 days until her birthday. 28 days until the money transferred. What could she do in 28 days? Jennifer's mind started clicking through possibilities, and for the first time in hours, the ghost of a smile crossed her face. Her father had been a strategic genius. Maybe she'd inherited more than just his money. Maybe she'd inherited his mind for chess. And Brad had just made the worst move of his life. The week Brad was in Cancun felt like the longest of Jennifer's life, but she used every minute. On Monday, she called Dr. Harrison's office and rescheduled her surgery for 6 weeks out, paying the deposit from her small savings to hold the date. The receptionist asked if she was sure she wanted to wait, given the risks. Jennifer said she was sure. She'd have the full amount by then. The receptionist didn't need to know where it would come from. On Tuesday, Jennifer contacted Wallace Crenshaw. The attorney was 73 now, semi-retired, but he'd known Jennifer since she was born. When she explained what Brad had done, the silence on the other end of the line stretched so long she thought the call had dropped. Then Wallace spoke, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. Jennifer, sweetheart, I can advance you the surgery money today. Right now. Your father would want— No, Jennifer interrupted gently. Dad set the rules for a reason. I'm not breaking them, but I need to know exactly what happens on my birthday. Walk me through every step. Wallace did. The trust would automatically dissolve at 12:01 a.m. on her 40th birthday. And the full $300 million, now grown to $342 million with investments, would transfer to accounts Wallace had already established in her name. She'd receive documentation, access codes, investment portfolios. She'd be, in Wallace's words, independently wealthy beyond most people's imagination. What about Brad? Jennifer asked. If we're married, does he have any claim? Not to the trust funds, Wallace assured her. Your father structured it specifically to be separate property. Even in a divorce, Brad couldn't touch it. But Jennifer, if you're thinking of leaving him— I'm thinking of a lot of things, Jennifer said. I'll call you on my birthday. On Wednesday, Jennifer hired a private investigator. She found one who specialized in marital infidelity, a woman named Patricia Rodriguez, who had a 5-star rating and a reputation for discretion. Patricia's retainer was $500, money Jennifer could barely afford, but she paid it anyway. She gave Patricia everything: Brad's schedule, Ashley's information, their patterns. Patricia promised a full report within 2 weeks. On Thursday, Jennifer did something she hadn't done in 3 years. She went to see her best friend, Monica Chen. They drifted apart after Jennifer's diagnosis, not because Monica abandoned her, but because Jennifer had isolated herself, too proud to admit how bad things had gotten, too ashamed of her failing body. Monica opened the door in yoga pants and a paint-stained t-shirt, her art studio visible behind her, and her eyes went wide. Jen! Oh my God, Jen! Monica pulled her into a careful hug, mindful of Jennifer's back. I've been trying to reach you for months. Why didn't you? I know, I'm sorry. Jennifer let herself be led inside to Monica's cozy living room. I need to tell you everything. She did. All of it. The surgery money, Brad's betrayal, Ashley, the cruel words. The only thing she didn't mention was the trust fund. That secret was too big, too dangerous to share until the money was safely in her account. But she told Monica everything else, and with each revelation, Monica's expression shifted from shock to horror to pure fury. That absolute bastard, Monica breathed. Jen, you can't stay with him. You have to leave. I will, Jennifer promised, but I need to do it right. I need to be smart about this. Monica studied her face. You have a plan. I'm working on one. Good. Monica squeezed her hand. Whatever you need. Money for a lawyer, a place to stay, someone to help you pack. I'm here. I should have been here all along. You were, Jennifer said. I was the one who disappeared. On Friday, Brad sent a single text. Heading back tomorrow. Don't wait up. Jennifer didn't respond. She spent the day organizing her documents, marriage certificate, bank statements, medical records, every piece of paper that might matter in a divorce. She made copies of everything and gave them to Monica for safekeeping. On Saturday, Brad came home. Jennifer was in the kitchen when she heard his car in the driveway. Her heart started pounding, that old fear response, but she forced herself to breathe through it. She was making soup, something simple she could manage despite her pain. Act normal. Give him nothing to suspect. Brad walked in looking tanned and relaxed. He barely glanced at her. "Smells good," he said, then headed toward the bedroom with his suitcase. "No hello. No, how are you feeling? Nothing about the surgery money." It was as if he'd taken a work trip, not stolen from his wife to vacation with his mistress. Jennifer stirred the soup and said nothing. Later at dinner, Brad talked about the resort, the food, the weather. He didn't mention Ashley, of course, but every story was contaminated by her invisible presence. The friend from work he'd run into, the group he'd hung out with. The lies flowed so easily, Jennifer wondered if he even registered them as lies anymore. "How's your back?" Brad asked finally, and Jennifer almost laughed at the transparent attempt at normalcy. "The same," she said. "I rescheduled the surgery." "Oh?" Brad's expression didn't change. "When?" 6 weeks. I'll have the money by then." Something flickered in Brad's eyes. Surprise, concern, but it vanished quickly. "That's good. How'd you manage that?" "I'm figuring it out," Jennifer said. She met his gaze steadily. "I always do." That night, Brad reached for her in bed, and Jennifer's stomach turned. She pleaded exhaustion and pain, both of which were true. Brad sighed dramatically and rolled away. "Whatever," he muttered. "You're always too tired." Jennifer stared at the ceiling in the darkness and counted down. 21 days. 21 days until everything changed. She could survive 21 more days. She'd survived worse. The tumor pressing against her spine, the stolen money, the cruel words. Brad had taken so much from her. But he hadn't broken her. He hadn't even come close. And that was going to be his biggest mistake, because Jennifer had learned something important in the week he'd been gone. She'd learned that she was stronger than she'd thought. Stronger than Brad ever imagined. And when a strong woman has nothing left to lose and everything to gain, she becomes the most dangerous person in the room. Jennifer's 40th birthday fell on a Wednesday. She woke at 5:47 a.m., Brad snoring beside her, and checked her phone with shaking hands. There were 3 emails from Wallace Crenshaw, all sent at 12:01 a.m. The subject line said everything: trust distribution complete, account access information, and welcome to your new life. She didn't open them. Not yet. Not with Brad 3 feet away. Instead, Jennifer eased out of bed and made her way to her office, closing the door quietly behind her. Only then did she let herself read. The first email contained account numbers, routing information, access codes. The second was a PDF, a statement showing a balance of $342,847.23. $342 million. Jennifer had to read the number 3 times before her brain accepted it as real. The third email was from Wallace himself. "Happy birthday, Jennifer. Your father would be so proud of the woman you've become. I've watched you these past 4 years, and I've seen your strength, your dignity, your grace. You've honored his memory by being exactly who he raised you to be. Now it's time to honor yourself. This money is yours, free and clear. Use it wisely, but more importantly, use it to build the life you deserve. I'm here if you need anything. Legal counsel, financial advice, or just a friendly ear. Call me today when you're ready. Wallace." Jennifer sat back in her chair and let out a long, shaky breath. It was real. It was done. She was wealthy beyond imagination, and Brad had no idea. The man who'd stolen her surgery money and told her she was better off dead was sleeping in her bed, completely unaware that his wife could buy his entire life 100 times over and still have change. Patricia Rodriguez's report had arrived 2 days ago. Jennifer had read it cover to cover. Brad and Ashley had been involved for 18 months, not 14. They'd been careless too. Hotel receipts, Explicit text messages, Ashley's friends talking openly about the affair. Brad had spent over $30,000 on Ashley in the past year and a half. Dinners, gifts, trips. All while Jennifer scraped together surgery money. Patricia's report included a particularly damning detail. Brad had told Ashley that Jennifer was a burden he was planning to divorce as soon as it made financial sense. Financial sense? Jennifer almost laughed. Brad thought he was waiting for the right moment to leave her without losing money in a divorce. He thought she had nothing, was nothing. The irony was exquisite. Her phone rang, Wallace's name on the screen. Jennifer answered immediately. I got the emails. Happy birthday, my dear. Wallace's voice was warm. How are you feeling? Rich, Jennifer said, and then she did laugh, slightly hysterical. I'm feeling very, very rich. As you should. Now let's talk about what comes next. I'm assuming you want to proceed with divorce proceedings? Yes, but Wallace, I want to do this right. I want Brad to suffer the way he made me suffer. Is that wrong? It's human, Wallace said carefully. But Jennifer, the best revenge isn't suffering. It's living well. That said, I understand your feelings, and legally you have options. We can file for divorce and ensure Brad gets as little as possible. The surgery money he stole, that's documented theft. The affair's documented adultery. In this state, that matters. We can make his life very difficult. What about Ashley? Jennifer asked. She works at his company, right? Isn't there something there? Wallace was quiet for a moment. That depends. If Brad is in a position of authority over her, there could be workplace ethics violations. Do you know their professional relationship? He's a regional sales director. I think she reports to someone in his department. Then yes, there could be issues. But Jennifer, pursuing that angle could get messy. Are you sure? I'm sure. Jennifer's voice was steel. Brad took everything from me. My health, my dignity, my hope. He told me I was better off dead. I want him to understand what he's lost. All of it. All right, Wallace sounded approving. Then here's what I suggest. Don't tell him about the money yet. File for divorce first. I'll have the papers drawn up today, and we can have him served by Friday. Let him think you're broke and desperate. Then during discovery, he'll find out about your assets. The look on his face when he realizes what you're worth, that'll be payment enough. And Jennifer, we need to talk about your surgery. I've already contacted Dr. Harrison's office. The full amount will be transferred today. You're scheduled for next Monday. Next Monday, but Your health comes first. Always. Your father would insist, and so do I. We'll handle Brad while you recover. You focus on healing. Jennifer felt tears prick her eyes. Thank you, Wallace. Thank your father. He set all this up. I'm just following through on his wishes. Now, one more thing. You need a financial advisor, a good attorney beyond me, and probably a security consultant. You're about to become very visible, very wealthy, and very vulnerable. I have recommendations. Can I send them over? Yes, send everything. They talked for another 20 minutes, Wallace walking her through immediate next steps. Transfer surgery money. Meet with divorce attorney this afternoon. Begin setting up proper security for her accounts. Contact a financial management firm. Start thinking about what she wanted to do with her life now that money was no longer a constraint. By the time they hung up, Jennifer had a plan, a real plan, and it felt good. Brad wandered into the office around 8, wearing boxers and scratching his stomach. Who were you talking to? My attorney, Jennifer said calmly. Brad blinked. Attorney, what for? Legal advice. About what? His voice sharpened. Jennifer met his eyes. You'll find out soon enough. She stood carefully, her back protesting. I'm going out for a while. Don't wait for me for dinner. It's your birthday, Brad said, as if he'd just remembered. Did you want to do something? I already did. Jennifer picked up her purse. I took care of myself. Like I always have. She left Brad standing in the hallway looking confused and drove to Wallace's office. By noon, she'd met with a divorce attorney named Catherine Pierce, who made Patricia Rodriguez look soft. Catherine reviewed Patricia's report, Brad's financial records, and the documentation of the stolen surgery money, and smiled like a shark. We're going to destroy him, Catherine said simply. He stole from you while you were disabled. He committed adultery. He's been siphoning marital assets for his mistress. In this state, I can argue for full restitution of the stolen funds, plus emotional damages, plus attorney fees. He won't just lose in the divorce, he'll owe you money he doesn't have. What about Ashley? Jennifer asked. Catherine's smile widened. I'll make some calls. If their company has a fraternization policy, and most do, and if Brad failed to disclose the relationship while in a supervisory position, that's an ethics violation. Could be grounds for termination. Want me to pursue it? Yes. Jennifer didn't hesitate. Both of them. I want them both to face consequences. By Friday afternoon, Brad had been served. Jennifer was at Monica's house when her phone rang, Brad's name on the screen, calling for the 5th time in an hour. She'd ignored the first 4. This time, Monica nodded. Answer it. Make him sweat. Jennifer pressed accept. Yes? What the hell is this? Brad's voice was shaking with rage. Divorce papers? Jennifer, what the hell? It's exactly what it looks like. I'm divorcing you. Over what? The surgery money? I'll pay it back, okay? Jesus, I was going to pay it back. This is insane. You stole $47,000 from me to vacation with your mistress, Jennifer said calmly. You told me I was better off dead. This isn't insane, Brad. This is overdue. I didn't. That's not. You're twisting everything, Brad sputtered. You can't divorce me. You have nothing. No money, no job. You can barely walk. How are you even affording an attorney? That's my concern, not yours. Is someone helping you? Is it Monica? That bitch never liked me. Don't call her that. Jennifer's voice went cold. And Brad, you should probably call your own attorney. You're going to need one. She hung up. Monica was grinning. God, that felt good, didn't it? It really did. Jennifer was surprised to find she was smiling too, genuine and wide. It really, really did. Brad called 6 more times that evening. Jennifer blocked his number. He showed up at Monica's house around 9, pounding on the door and shouting. Monica called the police. Brad left before they arrived, but the incident was documented. Catherine Pierce added it to their file. Harassment. The evidence was piling up, and Brad was making it worse with every move. Catherine had filed for an emergency restraining order by morning, citing Brad's behavior and the documented theft. A judge granted it. Brad was ordered to stay away from Jennifer, at least 100 yards, pending the divorce proceedings. He was also barred from accessing their joint accounts or any shared assets. Monday morning, Jennifer went into surgery. Monica drove her to the hospital, held her hand in pre-op, and promised to be there when she woke up. Wallace sent flowers. Catherine sent a card that said, "Get well soon so we can finish destroying your ex." Even Patricia Rodriguez sent a note. Jennifer went under anesthesia surrounded by people who cared about her for the first time in years. And when she woke up 4 hours later, Dr. Harrison was smiling. Perfect, he said. Absolutely perfect. We got the entire tumor. No complications. You're going to need physical therapy. But Jennifer, you're going to walk again without pain. You're going to have your life back, Jennifer cried. She couldn't help it. The relief was overwhelming. She'd carried that pain for so long, had lived with the fear of paralysis, of becoming even more of a burden, and now it was gone. The tumor was gone. In 6 months, Dr. Harrison promised she'd be hiking if she wanted to, dancing, living. She'd been given her life back. And Brad hadn't stolen it after all. He'd tried, but he'd failed. The divorce proceedings took 4 months, and they were brutal. Brad fought everything, but Catherine was relentless. Every receipt, every text message, every lie. It all came out in discovery. And then, the moment Jennifer had been waiting for. Brad's attorney requested disclosure of Jennifer's assets. Standard procedure in divorce. Catherine had been preparing for this. She handed over the documentation with a perfectly straight face. Jennifer wasn't in the courtroom for Brad's reaction. She was in physical therapy, learning to walk without pain. But Catherine called her immediately after. He passed out, Catherine said, barely containing her laughter. Actually fainted, had to be revived. His attorney looked like she might throw up. Jennifer, he had no idea. No idea at all. Good, Jennifer said. She was on a treadmill, walking at 2 miles per hour without her cane for the first time in 3 years. What happens now? Now he realizes he can't touch a penny of your inheritance, and he owes you $47,000 in restitution plus damages. The judge was not impressed with his behavior. Oh, and one more thing. Ashley Winters was terminated yesterday. Their company did have a fraternization policy, and Brad failed to disclose. She's claiming he coerced her, by the way, saying he promised to leave you and marry her, that she didn't know about the stolen surgery money. Jennifer absorbed this. Do you believe her? Does it matter? Catherine asked. She participated in the affair. She sent you that photo from the plane. She knew he was married, knew you were sick. Whether Brad coerced her or not, she made choices. She's facing consequences. So is he. Brad tried to contact Jennifer 4 times after learning about her wealth. She ignored every attempt. His attorney made offers. He'd waive alimony if she gave him a settlement. She refused. He'd agree to a quick divorce if she paid his legal fees. She refused. Catherine's advice was simple. Make him crawl. So Jennifer did. The final divorce decree gave her everything. The house, the car, full restitution with interest. Brad got nothing except legal bills he couldn't pay and a job he'd lost in the scandal. His career imploded when news of the ethics violations spread through his industry. Ashley disappeared. Last anyone heard, she'd moved back to her home state. On the day Jennifer's divorce was finalized, she stood in front of the full-length mirror in her bedroom, in her house that Brad would never enter again. She was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, nothing fancy, but she was standing straight, no cane, no pain. The physical therapy had worked better than anyone expected. Dr. Harrison said she'd been motivated, and he was right. She'd had every reason to heal, every reason to reclaim her life. She looked different, stronger. Her eyes were clear, her posture confident. The broken, desperate woman Brad had abandoned was gone. In her place was someone new, someone who'd survived theft, betrayal, and cruelty, and come out wealthy, healthy, and free. Jennifer Matthews had her life back, and it was better than anything she'd imagined. Not because of the money, though that certainly helped, but because she'd discovered something more valuable than any trust fund. She'd discovered her own strength. Her father had protected her with his wealth, yes, but he'd also raised her to protect herself. And she had. She'd done exactly what he taught her. She'd felt her emotions, used them as information, and planned accordingly. And now Brad would spend the rest of his life knowing exactly what he'd lost. Not just the money, though, that was part of it. He'd lost a woman who'd loved him, who'd stood by him, who'd sacrificed for him. He'd thrown her away like trash, assuming she was worthless. That assumption had cost him everything. Sometimes, Jennifer thought, the best revenge isn't just living well. Sometimes it's making absolutely certain your betrayer knows exactly how well you're living and exactly how much their cruelty cost them. Brad knew now, and that knowledge would haunt him forever. Jennifer smiled at her reflection, picked up her car keys, and headed out to meet Monica for lunch. She had a life to live, and she wasn't wasting another moment.